Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Russell Aaron, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Hello, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today?
Doing good.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
It's great. It's hot outside, but here we are with episode number 15.
You don't know 14 because you were cut out of that one.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. You can cut that out already.
No. Let's leave that one in.
You're on fire today.
No, I'm doing good. It's nice to be here with Kelly.
Thank you, Jonathan. Nice to be here.
Are you going to formally introduce him?
Welcome, Kelly. We're joined today by the founder of the Las Vegas Walking Tours and history buff, Kelly Fairchild.
Hello.
Welcome to
Hello,
On the
everyone.
Corner of Main Street.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. It's quite the honor.
I am interested because we've gone from Flavor Flav, who gave us a different type of history lesson, to Kelly, who's now going to tell us what classifies you as a history buff.
Well, let me preface
Other than the
it
fact
this way.
that you do a walking tour, but do you have any accolade that actually makes you a history buff?
We can go to college. Let's say I go to university and I can get a master's in ancient history.
Right.
So other than being a fan of Las Vegas and being a history buff in that sense, and then coming to what is basically known as the last great city of Western civilization, which is Las Vegas, it is hard to not be a history buff here, and self-proclaimed.
Oh, okay. So I am curious because I've seen you every day in our building for the last,
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
And how did you end up doing this down here?
How we came about doing this, not originally from Las Vegas, started coming here, it was 2007. I moved here 2012 with my wife. And once we got to Las Vegas, being the history buff, just naturally got into the, behind the scenes, and I loved downtown Las Vegas. Downtown Las Vegas, for those that come to Las Vegas and maybe stay on the Strip, we're known here for value and a little more intimate. It's more family-operated businesses. And I was just researching the history just on my own, and I started putting two and two together that literally the birthplace of Las Vegas is right beneath our feet here at the Plaza, which is quite a remarkable piece of information. Most people come to town and think that Las Vegas began on the Strip because of casinos like the Flamingo or things like that. But it literally started right at this intersection, which I thought was amazing.
On the corner of Main Street.
Corner of Main Street. So, just some natural research, realizing that it all started right here and it naturally progressed down Fremont Street. And as you go block by block east down Fremont Street, you literally walk through the history of Las Vegas, and then it gets newer as you get progressively further east, and I thought that was really quite interesting. And then looked at a couple of other businesses that were in town that were popular. You had some reality TV shows that were offered nearby, and I thought that was interesting. They were walkable to the Fremont Street area, and I also was tuned in to what was happening in East Fremont, which is a massive revitalization of downtown Las Vegas that started there but has now taken over primarily most of all of downtown. And I thought that was a really nice kind of part of the story for downtown that people didn't know about, that people were still coming to Las Vegas and staying on the Strip, still hearing stories about, well, don't go downtown, or if you do go downtown, leave before dark, stick to 4 blocks underneath the Viva Vision canopy. And that was misinformation now by this point. And I knew it, and I wanted other people to know. You just said something.
Do they still call it the Viva Vision canopy? Is that still the...
I believe so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Created by LG, but they still call it the Viva Vision, as far as I understand.
Okay.
Jonathan, a few episodes back, we had Jonathan from the Mob Museum on a few episodes ago. I'm sure you heard it. You can listen to it in the archives. Mm-hmm. And he was saying how so much of his business is actually coming from the Strip. How much of your business do you feel is coming from the Strip versus guests who are already staying in downtown or locals? How would you break down your business volume?
I would still say it is about 85 to 90% outside of the downtown area.
Okay.
Which is changing. Over the years it has changed. When we started 6 years ago in 2014, it was all Strip-related business, and it was hard to reach those people. And we're definitely finding more people. We are having, more guests that are staying downtown, and it's great to hear. We learn about why they're in downtown. We find out that they're hearing about the revitalization and things are going well. So it's the numbers are moving up. But by comparison, the hotel rooms, we have 6,000 rooms downtown in comparison to 150,000 on the Strip. So most people that do visit Las Vegas are staying near the Strip. That's just the way the hotel business works.
Okay, so let's back up. The Las Vegas Walking Tours is a tour that takes you from the Plaza. Does it still end at the Container Park?
2-hour tours that start here at the Plaza, and we go 7 blocks down the street in 2 hours. So it does seem like perhaps a long time, 2 hours, but
it goes quickly. It's a lot of information about the history. It's a lot of
information. It goes quickly, and it's only 7 blocks. It's only 0.7 miles in duration. So it's an easy walk for virtually everyone. Strollers, wheelchair accessibility on Fremont Street, open for everyone, ramps. So it's a nice tour that covers the history, and then it gets to the modern day revitalization.
How did you learn all the history?
Just a lot of research, just on my own. When I first basically moved to Las Vegas, I'm an entertainer in the entertainment business myself for over 35 years. And that's sort of what brought me to town in the first place.
Did you move from Canada to Vegas?
Yes, from Canada to Las Vegas. And some people call me out on that within 5 seconds. Yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand.
Wear a boot in Canada.
Yeah, I don't say that. Apparently I do, because some people will call me out within 5 seconds of speaking. It's like, are you from Canada? It's like, what does a Canadian know about Las Vegas?
That's a good point.
But then I go back to the ancient history, right? You don't have to be from there. And are all of you local Las Vegans?
No, none of us.
None of us exactly are. Right. None of us are. Most people in Las Vegas are not locals. There's very few that are local Las Vegans. And let me also point out then, locals, no matter what town you're from, chances are if you're a tourist town, the tourists may know a lot of information that the local doesn't know. Because the local is born and raised, they have to go to work 9 to 5, they got kids, they're busy on the weekend. They don't necessarily know where all the great tourist attractions are. They don't necessarily visit them. They always think you can go there another time. So to open up a tour business for downtown Las Vegas at the time that we did, being an outsider, so to speak, being a non-native, I think was to our advantage, because I brought a perspective to the tour business that the tourists, I think, wanted to know. They wanted to know where the good deals were. They wanted to know all the insights and the ins and outs and feel like an insider, whereas sometimes locals can sometimes underappreciate what is around them.
Like when I'm doing my tours of the Plaza or talking to customers here, I can do it with my eyes shut. Do you feel like you know your tour off by heart, pretty much?
Yes and no. There are certain things and details, little bits of information, certain facts that I'd like to touch upon on every tour that I feel are important. But I could have you on a 4-hour tour and not run out of information.
So give me the opening paragraph of the tour when you start at the Plaza. How does it begin?
I start the tours by letting people know that half the visitors to Las Vegas are now visiting downtown, which might seem okay, but that's actually a massive improvement compared to about 10 years ago. We were down around 15%, maybe 20%. So we're getting more people downtown, but we're on the upward swing, which is great. And so I congratulate my guests on coming downtown.
That's great. That's good.
What's your favorite part of the tour?
Starting at the Plaza?
As far as the information or just in general?
Like the most interesting fact.
There's all sorts of interesting facts, because what keeps me interested are the different varieties of folks that come on the tour, where they're from, and, people come on the tour that are interested in different things. So when I say I could take you on a 4-hour tour, it's because we have a lot of information that kind of sits on the back burner depending on who's on our tour. So if we have a particular group that's interested in mobsters and mafia and things like that, then I'll add a few more details about that. And then if they're not into that at all, and if I've got a family and they're not into gaming, then I leave out some of the gaming things and talk more about the history. So it really sort of depends. So I've got, I don't know, what's my favorite tour or tip?
Part of the tour, yeah. Like when you get there, you think like, gee, that's an interesting stat. Or do you just make up stats to sound more interesting?
Yeah, I could, right? And no one would know. I think part of my favorite part of the tour would be towards the end, when I look at everyone's expressions after we've talked about Container Park and the revitalization part of the story, because that's the jaw-dropping point, where we get to the revitalized area and the new businesses and then, the restaurants and the new urban development, and people on the tour are speechless to learn what's happened downtown. So that, I would say, is my favorite part when I get that reaction. But as far as the history, there's a lot of good tidbits.
I'd say in the 6 years you've been doing this walking tour, you've seen a tremendous amount of that improvement.
Yes, absolutely.
Firsthand. I mean, as you walk off of East Fremont, it's...
firsthand, almost, let's say, I would say 5 years ago, I would say daily there was something different going on. I would still say almost daily or weekly. I go on a tour and I see something, has changed that I need to get some more information on. But, as we're sitting here in Oscar's Lounge, which is a great view of down Fremont Street, you got a fabulous location. We're looking at the dome over Oscar's dining room and steakhouse. One little bit of information that is always a lot of fun that people don't realize is that it used to be a pool. So it's great to tell people about the pool.
You got some great pictures of that. Do you have a picture of it in your tour?
I do, yeah. I've got it from your website, and it's people love to know that this was once a pool, and we, on the tour we joke about, back in 1971, though, you had to have a polyester leisure suit and an evening gown to hang out.
The best. That was the best. Those pictures of the one that always stands out is the guy standing by the pool and they're in their suits.
In the suit.
Yeah, his polyester leisure suit. Gotta love it. Looking down Fremont Street. So that's a great detail. There's some great mob stories, but I've just got so many.
Have you spotted any interesting characters along the tour?
Well, we used to come across Frank Collada once in a while, of course, who, was associated
just passed away last week.
Just passed away, yeah, unfortunately. We talked about Frank's tour a little bit on our tour. But, we see some of the local, business owners, operators. We see Derek Stevens walking down the street. We like to see Jonathan walking down the street. It's very much still downtown Las Vegas is a business area, but it's also a little community, a little family. And it's nice to see the local owners getting along. Everyone talks to each other. And it's still very much like that. It's a throwback to the days of Jackie Gone, who was, a big pioneer here in downtown Las Vegas.
I was pretty drawn to Kelly, not for his good looks, but because of the manner in which I would see him conducting himself. And you started coming to the Plaza without even our permission. You would this was your meeting point, right? I mean, I would just see you down here.
I guess you could say that.
Nobody really knew who he was. And I was always taken by the fact that he had a nice sized crowd with him, whether it was 5, 10, 15 people. Summer would always seem to slow down in the heat.
Yes, of course.
Nobody wants to walk around in 110 heat. Although some people, I still see you with them.
Some do.
But what I loved was in my own belief of the business is a lot of it is hand-to-hand combat, right? You want to talk to as many people as you can. You want to shake hands with as many people, or elbow bump these days. But you want to get in front of people and get to know them. And here was a guy on our doorstep every single day greeting 15, 20 people, maybe more, and touching them and giving them an experience of downtown, which is basically what we want to do at the Plaza, where we just didn't get as much of an opportunity to give them one-on-one contact. So I was instantly drawn to what he was doing and curious as to who these people were, how were they coming here. I still don't really know how you advertise the show and how people hear about it, other than your nice yellow T-shirt that you're wearing with your phone number on it. The
tour is available online. It is offered through all the major airlines carry us as an option add-on. We're in publications around the world. Luxury Travel Guide, which is a massive publication, over 500,000 copies. Voted us the top walking tour in the country this year for 2020.
Congratulations.
So we get publications around. We're in airport lounges. Like I said, Viator is a big travel. TripAdvisor sells attractions. So we're out there when people look for what to do downtown.
If guests are looking for you guys, if they're listening to the podcast, what's the website?
So thanks for asking. LasVegasWalkingTours.net, N-E-T. And again, found through all the major travel websites out there, but directly at LasVegasWalkingTours.net.
So I went on your tour once and loved it. But one of the parts of the tour that I found the most interesting was when you were speaking about the speakeasies in downtown and how speakeasies would like display their signs. They were called something like North or South. I don't remember what it was. I was trying to Google it before you came on so I could ask you about it.
You know,
He made that up.
that part's slipping my mind right now. So
Or it was like where they brewed alcohol during the Prohibition. Do you know what I'm talking about? No?
You know, there was a time where we talked a little bit about the speakeasies when we could still look at some of the original properties that still existed. I haven't talked much about the speakeasies of late, you know, as opposed to, with the exception of, you know, of course, the Mob Museum creating their own sort of pseudo speakeasy in the basement. You know, but Fremont Street back in the days, and we're going back to, you know, the Prohibition days, there was literally a speakeasy on Fremont Street. This might be the story you're thinking of. It was the Copper Grill at one point, a little speakeasy where after hours it was a little restaurant, little spot, and at nighttime they would open the hole in the wall and hand a pot of tea through the wall to the nightclub on the other side that couldn't have alcohol. But of course the restaurant was serving a pot of tea, which was bourbon, you know, whiskey or what have you, and they'd be dancing all night long. You know, so those little speakeasies like that. But those sorts of tales happened everywhere, you know, including in downtown.
Why don't you tell Kelly why you were on his tour?
Well, as Jonathan started out explaining,
Who is this guy doing a tour on my front step?
Yes.
I was suspicious. I thought somebody was putting him there to advertise their place.
So he wanted to figure out what you were saying about the Plaza, what was going on this tour. So me and a few other employees here at the Plaza
We're plants.
We snuck on the tour. We came up with a story that we were there to celebrate one of the girls' birthdays. We're in Vegas celebrating birthdays. And you are very friendly, and you do get to know all the people on your tour. So you asked us a ton of questions, which we were not prepared for. And eventually I think you asked, like, when's your birthday?
And there wasn't really a birthday.
The girl was like, today? And then it was a disaster, and we came clean.
You know, I can't
You told him
blame
the truth?
Yeah, it was like once the tour was finished.
I mean, we paid for the tour.
You did. That's why I didn't know what was going on. But I can't blame you at all. Absolutely. You know, but to my defense, we start on the city sidewalk, and we were on the sidewalk. But, you know, I'm glad you enjoyed the tour. We have, you know, fabulous, you know, stories to do with the Plaza. I think the Plaza is doing a great job. And
so how come did Vegas start here, and why did Vegas become a city?
Well, to make a long story short, it really has to do with the railroad. The Salt Lake San Pedro Los Angeles Railroad. William Clark's Las Vegas is in Clark County. So to surmise briefly, William Clark creates a railroad to go basically from Salt Lake down to the Southern California area was the plan. And he needed a place to essentially, around the halfway point, fuel up. You know, you need some water. These are steam trains back then. You also, you know, if your train breaks down in the middle of the desert in July on your way to Southern California, you're not going to get to California. So you need a place to fix your trains, and you need some fuel. There used to be a great water spring here, and William Clark discovered that courtesy of Fremont Street, John C. Fremont. Big explorer who was exploring the Great Basin in the mid-1800s. And in 1844, it was his second expedition exploring the United States. Stopped here in the Lower Valley, and he discovered this water spring. So John Fremont wrote about the fact that he took a bath in the middle of the desert. So William Clark, Clark, he needs water. And he said, perfect. So Clark came to the area and met Helen Stewart, a very prominent name here. We have Stewart Avenue, 2 blocks north of the Plaza. Helen owned about 1,800 acres of land that she had inherited from her husband. And Clark arranged to acquire 1,800 acres off of Helen Stewart and the rights to the water spring. So perfect. He had water, he had land, starts building his railroad, dropped off his train station, maintenance yard here, and completed the railroad. May 15th, 1905, literally right beneath the foundation of the Plaza, he had a land auction. And he sold off 110 of those 1,800 acres, made a modest profit of
That's why it was called 18B?
The 18B, 18 block area, correct?
Right.
So it goes, the original Vegas. So Clark had already created what he called the Clark Las Vegas town site, it was originally called. May 15th, 1905, had the auction. Las Vegas was born. And the auction was literally right beneath this building at the corner of Fremont and Main Street. So the tour starts here. The story of Las Vegas starts right here. So it's fantastic to basically have such a location that is so significant to the city, But then modern day, we got fabulous casinos, and we got all kinds of other history that we cover all the way down to 7th Street.
What do you think would surprise people the most about downtown?
Nowadays, it's definitely the revitalization, and the people, I still get a lot of guests that are surprised to see the size of some of the casino properties and hotel properties and some of the amenities that are offered. They hear stories of the old days about safety and things like that. So the surprise I get from most guests is that the downtown has everything for the most part, with the exception of your circle level shows, of course. We still need more entertainment downtown, but we have all the amenities, all the same style hotel rooms. If you're, from the high end to the budget friendly, at about a half to a quarter of the price.
So, and one thing, Gary, that I hear the most from people that really know nothing about the area when they come down here is that they can't believe that Fremont Street used to be vehicular and that cars could drive up and down Fremont Street. So, we all know it now as Fremont Street with pedestrians, but the people that had no idea pre-95 that you could drive up and down Fremont Street. I mean, I would have loved to have seen that, to be able to drive up and down the street and see the casinos on either side of you and the neon lights. That's something that people just can't get their head around. If you've never seen images of it or anything like that, given how busy it is now. True. But I agree with you as well with the redevelopment that, I've always said that people like to come downtown for the history and the glitz and the glamour. But what was missing was the redevelopment, was the investment, was the vision that started with Oscar and then Carolyn and then all the private businesses that came in and made it safer and better and gave us all the amenities that you're talking about.
Right.
You say there's not that much entertainment, but if you look at where we've come from, just with the downtown event center, with the core arena, with some of the biggest shows, that life is beautiful. There's a lot.
Oh, it's coming around.
Punk rock bowling. We're missing it all this year, of course, but there was very rarely a week that went by that there wasn't an event or some kind of entertainment happening downtown.
Oh,
and that's something that changed a lot from what we had 10 years ago, even.
Absolutely, it absolutely has. It's come a long way.
As downtown continues to develop, what sort of vintage aspects do you think we'll miss the most?
Well, I think what we would miss would be if any of the older properties were torn down, but I don't see that happening. I think there's a new appreciation for the history of Las Vegas and for the downtown. So, if we saw, if Boyd Gaming felt like changing out the California, it would be sad to see the old California go. But, Las Vegas is traditionally the town that likes to tear out the old and build new. Mm-hmm. It almost happened here. Unfortunately, it didn't happen here. And, it would be sad to see any older properties disappear, but I think it's going to pretty much just grow from here. I don't see myself being too sad about anything in the area disappearing at this point. Everything is being worked on, being salvaged.
Do you ever get really drunk guests?
Great question. On occasion, we do actually offer our tour at nighttime. It's called Fremont After Dark, and guests are allowed to come on the tour with a cocktail. It's 21 plus. It does happen. But for the most part, our guests are not the party goers that just came straight from the nightclub. It's a different clientele.
Yeah, I mean, that is in a way, downtown's got a lot of drunks, don't get me wrong, but in a way, we don't have that nightclub crowd coming down here.
Right.
Looking for that. But you said most of your customers are coming from the Strip anyway.
Many come from the Strip, and many find us themselves. They go online, look for walking tours, look for things to do in downtown Las Vegas. And that customer isn't the same customer that's going to that nightclub. Not to say that it hasn't happened, different level of entertainment for the other guests.
Do you think the downtown is haunted at night?
I personally haven't seen anything downtown, but I do hear stories about the El Cortez, and I've heard a story about the Plaza. Maybe if Jonathan can elaborate.
We're haunted.
You're haunted?
What did you hear?
Well, there's a good story about a lighting technician in your showroom. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone has seen any ghosts in your...
who told you the story?
Oh, I just found it.
One of your sources?
I sourced it somewhere. Can you elaborate on that? Well, are there ghosts at the Plaza?
If you've heard it, please share it with us.
Oh, well, my understanding, there was a lighting technician that either killed themselves or fell. I've heard both stories. Uh-huh. Fell from the rigging, or that he had killed himself. Just.
And he's now living in the showroom as a ghost.
Rumors of entertainers and noises in the dressing room.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Well, yeah, there could be something out there. Why not? Well, yeah, I don't know, but I don't discount it.
Lisa, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they only come at night though? Why are ghosts only at night?
Well, maybe
Why don't
they're
you see
only
them
in the
during
dark.
day? But you never see a ghost like at the beach. It's always like, in the showroom, in the dark underground basement of the showroom.
Are you speaking from personal experience?
No, I'm saying.
I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I've heard those stories. And I've heard stories from like the Golden Gate that sometimes you see someone standing in the window. Who knows?
Haven't heard the Golden Gate Binions, the old Hotel Apache, have some ghost stories. But there's a ghost tour in downtown Las Vegas, nothing to do with us. So I would leave it to those interested in
that's
in ghost stories.
I'm glad you brought that up. But who do you consider your competition? Not the ghost tour. What about the walking arts tour?
No, and again, I'll give this back to the community vibe that's downtown. There's other operators doing attractions now, more so than when we started 6 years ago. But it still feels like everyone is doing something slightly different from each other. We've actually had other tour operators on our tour, and
did you charge them?
Some have bought on, and some have just asked, and either or. And we've had them out because the more people that come downtown, the better for everyone, and I think that's the way the casinos operate. Most visitors to downtown don't just visit one casino; they visit 3.5 on average. That's their typical. So same for the operators that do tours. We have guests all the time that now the tour's over and they ask, well, what else is going on? What else can we do? So I'm happy to tell you about a food tour or a ghost tour. So I don't feel like we've got any exact competition, but there are other operators, but only a couple that do walking tours down Fremont Street. And as far as I know, we are truly the only operator that does a walking tour that really focuses on the history and the revitalization aspect. That's our differentiation. There's others that do more, the mobs or the pop and the art or the food. But everyone is very mindful, it seems, of
But you only go down Fremont Street. You're not going in the greater downtown area. So you're not looking at Symphony Park's redevelopment. You're not looking at the Arts District. You're strictly looking at those 7 blocks that you're walking down.
Well, there's so much going on in the first 7 blocks that we've condensed it to that. We did originally have an add-on where we did go through the Arts District. But that area was still growing and is still growing. And we just found that there was some space where you got to walk between interest points. That was just a little bit too much, and it added a little, it dragged on a little bit, we felt.
Yep.
But that could change where we could now, you mentioned 18B Arts District, which is, just 18 block area of what is now becoming restaurants.
Well, no, I believe
galleries.
the 18 blocks was actually here, but they took the name 18B and nicknamed that the Arts District. But the actual 18 blocks started from the Plaza here going east.
2 blocks going 6 blocks north and 5 blocks to the east. Correct. Yeah, they
just took
taken
the name.
on that name.
Right.
But the 18B Arts today, there's, you can have an art walk, and there's great murals from artists around the world all over the downtown. So we can expand. But yes, we've focused on 7 blocks of Fremont Street because it's literally from beginning to present day, walking through time, as we like to say. It's the most jam-packed 2 hours that anybody can experience because you joined my tour, and Lisa, you were there. I really don't stop talking for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I can't shut up. I tell my guests at the beginning of the tour, if I get really annoying, just turn off your volume control. I won't even know because I don't stop talking because everyone on the tour gets the headset, and you get to hear us talking in your ear for 2 hours, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Has the tours changed? Did you take off the time that the casinos were shut during COVID?
Certainly.
And then
we couldn't operate during the COVID there, and we've also taken another month off just recently because when Las Vegas resumed on June 4th, business was pretty good, but then it tapered off again a little bit. Everyone is still sort of settling, hunkering down, doing what they need to do to stay safe, which is fantastic. So we'll start to see those numbers come back soon. So we are, operating. I had a couple of tours yesterday. But it's slow, but we'll be here. We're Las Vegas Walking Tours, family-owned business, my wife and I's business, even though you could find us on all the airlines and all that jazz. So we're able to ride the course, and we'll be here when everyone wants to come back.
You can't take your pictures with the group before. You got to space out. I know sometimes I would stop and take pictures with the groups.
Yes, and thank you for taking pictures with our groups.
No, I love it.
And testament to you, and again, that's to the mentality or the feel downtown where the CEO of the Plaza will just walk by and say hi to some guests, and the guests really appreciate that. You bring the story to life. Yeah. When Oscar Goodman pulls up in his silver Mercedes to come,
right.
And Oscar comes over and says hi to the guests, takes a picture, and that seemed to almost happen after I finished telling everyone about Oscar Goodman, the former mayor of Las Vegas.
It's like you staged it almost, like you
almost
just
like you
up.
Staged it, and some people think, did you just plan that? Because sometimes it happens perfectly. And it's amazing that all of you do that, for the visitors that are downtown, because it really brings the history to life, but the story to life, and it really connects the visitors that are not from Las Vegas to the downtown. They have that personal experience, and it really means a lot to folks. Yeah, so thank you for doing that.
Well, that's how we differentiate downtown from the Strip, is all of us, more of that personal touch, not just me, but Gary at the front desk, calling people, interacting on social media, Facebook pages, whatever it is. That's how we differentiate downtown over the Strip in many ways, is we have more of that personal touch and the ability to do that.
And that's great. And it's always been like that, and it's fantastic that it stays like that. And earlier I touched upon Jackie Gahn. He used to own the Plaza. Mm-hmm. He was a partner with Hugh Cannon and Union Pacific.
Mel Exper.
And this was once called Jackie Gahn's Plaza until he sold it off. And Jackie owned 25% of the real estate downtown. Most of a lot of the casinos. He owned the Las Vegas Club, which you sold to Derek across the street.
Well, it's pretty cool because they were all partners as well. I'm not sure if we've told the story or not on the podcast, but the Main Street station next door to us, when we were looking at some of our utilities, they were on their land. And it turns out that historically, the owners were all friends and had handshake deals, and there was no paperwork that explained many of these easements, and nowadays everything's so over documented and legalese. But back then it was just a handshake and a friendship, and everything was good. Mm-hmm. And today it's a little trickier to do things like that. But it was pretty crazy to see that our transformer was on their property and nobody knew why or how it got there, but it had been there for 20 years.
Yeah, and they just let it go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, back then they knew about it, but the current day people had no idea what was going on.
That's right. And Main Street Station, previously Holiday International.
It was?
Yeah. Its first name, and then it turned into another hotel after that, before Boyd Gaming got involved.
Okay. What year was Holiday International then?
1980. Okay. I believe it was 1980, 1981, if I'm not mistaken. In those days. And Jackie Gahn, though. You asked me what one good story is. One that actually involves Jackie Gahn, and you talking about the handshake and how everyone just sort of got along. Mm-hmm. Jackie used to own the El Cortez, which is just down the road 6 blocks, and Jackie had just taken over the El Cortez, and he had bought it off of some folks that previously the El Cortez was owned by Bugsy Siegel and Mo Sedway and Meyer Lansky and another chap, and Jackie Gahn took over the property, and he was going through the records and realized that there is a tenant in the hotel that hadn't paid his hotel bill for over 15 years. His name was Irish Green, and Jackie he tried to approach Irish and say, "You've been here for 15 years. You got to pay your bill." And as it turns out, Irish was sort of the muscle behind Bugsy and some other folks, and he'd taken care of a satchel of some money that belonged to Bugsy. Bugsy disappears, so to speak, and Irish apparently gave this satchel of money to Mo and Mo Sedway, and they thought so much of Irish for his honesty that Mo allowed Irish. He said, "You can stay here for as long as you live. You got a place for life at the El Cortez." Jackie Gahn acquires the El Cortez. 15 years later, approaches Irish Green. It's like, "You got to pay your hotel bill." And Irish is like, "I'm not paying my hotel bill. Never have, never will." So Jackie Gahn walks down the street a couple blocks to the Hotel Apache to Binion's Horseshoe, to Benny Binion. And he goes, "Hey, Benny, again, talking about how owners know each other and owners are, working together." He goes over to Benny. He's like, what do I do about this guy? Can you take him? He's like, I don't want him. He hasn't paid his bill for 15 years. Can you take him over? And Benny's like, I've been feeding this guy for 15 years. You got to take care of him. You put him up and I've been feeding him. I thought that was great.
Wow.
And that goes to how the operators just knew each other. They looked out for each other. And it's still like that today, which is great to see.
Are there any other casino guests you think like that still today?
Not modern day, not that I can think of. That's a different age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a different age. But do you listen to your podcast with Derek Stevens? That's nice. So it's good to see that relationship going on still.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I was looking actually just at the because you mentioned Bugsy Siegel, and everyone thinks he was the one who built the Flamingo. But have you read the book about Wilkerson, the original owner of the Flamingo?
The guy that started it off.
Yeah. Billy Wilkerson, I want to say was his name. That book is a great book about the history of the Flamingo and how it came to be, and then how Bugsy subsequently got involved.
Sure.
And it mentions the guys you just mentioned at the El Cortez. But if you haven't read it, it's a great book. It's called The Man Who Built Las Vegas, I want to say.
Right. And that would be a good story. And yeah, the original proprietor, money troubles, things like that. And, ended up in Bugsy's and friends' hands. Yes. And, in our tours, we talk about a lot of the strip players to a certain degree. But we primarily focus on how they, also worked up, the business downtown. Bugsy was a player downtown at the Las Vegas Club in the El Cortez. But we leave the strip a little bit to folks that are out on the strip. And again, there's operators out there that like to, focus on that. And
are there walking tours on the strip? I haven't seen any of them.
There was one for a while, Nomad. I don't mind mentioning him. He came on our tour at one point and then created a strip tour. I don't know how they're doing. I haven't been on his tour, but give them a mention because there's people on the strip that need stuff to do.
Looking for tours.
Absolutely. But again, there's nothing like downtown because this is where it all started. Mm-hmm. And it's only 7 blocks as opposed to 5 million.
Yeah, you'd have to walk a long way to cover that on the strip. It'd be good exercise, though.
Good exercise. Well, I like to say on our tours, too, I point out once we get down to what used to be called 5th Street. Now, just a quick recap. Our tours start here at Main Street, which I would say is block 0. And as you walk east down Fremont Street, you get, the
Casino
First
Center.
Street, Second Street turned into Casino Center, 3rd Street. And 5th Street used to be, what used to be 5th Street is now Las Vegas Boulevard. So we get to Las Vegas Boulevard. People don't realize that the Strip, which is Las Vegas Boulevard, is right downtown here. You could literally walk from downtown to the Strip if you wanted to, but it would take you about 3 hours.
Right.
But we're that close. And people think it's just a whole nother area. When you're on the Strip, they don't know where downtown is, and we're just down the road. So I just like to encourage people again to get out of the big hotel for a little while and come see what's going on downtown.
Do you have any favorite memories from the years you've been doing these tours? Do you have anything that sticks out as a memory?
Well, great question. I would love to say something jumped out at me.
Besides our fireworks shows that you come to and always support.
Your fireworks shows. Absolutely the best fireworks. Absolutely the best fireworks here downtown.
Well, you can't say that because they're the only fireworks downtown.
That's true. That's right.
But best fireworks in the town, yes.
That's great. I don't have any particular favorite moments, I would say. Just every day is different, and I appreciate every day. I appreciate all the different guests that are traveling to Las Vegas, and they come on our tours to learn and to hear what's going on. And, I just appreciate the guests and their interest and, sharing the passion for downtown and hopefully imparting that onto our travelers and hopefully see them again downtown.
What a great advocate of downtown you are. Strange hobby you found yourself in.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say often that a guest at the end of the tour says, you should be on the Chamber of Commerce or something like that. I was like, well, I'm too busy.
But what's interesting, and I get this question a lot, I'd be curious to hear your take, is people that, beyond the tour that want to learn more and dig deeper into it, where do you recommend they go for further learning, whether it's books or, I mentioned the man who invented Las Vegas.
Sure.
Wilkerson. But where else can you go book-wise or movie-wise, or where would you send somebody to that wants to have further?
And that would depend on, what their particular interests were. For example, one crazy story about Fremont Street is Binion's Horseshoe and the
great
the son,
story.
Ted Binion, and his girlfriend, Sandy, and so to not spill the beans, but there's a movie made about the murder of Ted Binion called Sex and Lies in Sin City. So I'll reference some movies, lots of movies. Another movie that we talk about while we're here at the Plaza, because Oscar Goodman ties in, is the movie Casino, which of course in '96 is a Scorsese movie with De Niro and Sharon Stone. And, so we'll refer people to that movie because it is brilliantly accurate about 5 casinos.
I say that, and every time it comes up in every podcast, that movie is accurate.
Very, very accurate. And Oscar, of course, was a former defense attorney.
Yeah.
Oscar himself defended Lefty Rosenthal.
You mentioned Binion, and I read a book called Blood Aces. And if you've ever read Blood Aces, it's the story of Benny Binion, how he came to Vegas, built the Horseshoe, built the World Series of Poker, some of the crazy stories of what he ran into. And I forgot to mention that, but that's you mentioned him.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't heard about the movie about his son, but the story of Benny Binion in Blood Aces is an excellent book.
Blood Aces.
Yeah.
Another one for that property would be Positively 5th Street, written by a sports writer who was in town, basically a columnist who was in town covering the murder of Ted Binion at the courthouse, which was literally just a few blocks away from here. And while he was in town, he was also a novice poker player. So he entered himself in the World Series of Poker while he was in town covering the murder trial. So it's a book about both the murder of Ted Binion and the trial and his experience going to the finals of the World Series of Poker, which was a really interesting insight. You get two parallels, one about the trial, one about his World Series of Poker, experience. And it's really quite interesting. That's another good little tale.
And then the other one, which I think people should give a listen to, as Gary, you'd enjoy it, is The Gambler, the life story of Kirk Kerkorian. Big craps player, loved to play craps, and the vision he had for building MGM at the time was unparalleled.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading that book right now, and it's amazing to hear the stories of, and it reminds me a lot of, in a way, and not to talk about anybody else, but the courage you have to open a new casino and a big investment, especially in difficult times. And this guy, Kirk Kerkorian, did not get scared. He would go ahead with it, and no matter how bad times were in Las Vegas or the issues they were dealing with, he just had unbridled confidence in himself and would just keep going ahead and opened up what was the MGM. But he also built the Hilton, which is now what was the International. Now it's the Westgate. But it's a great book.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
And a lot of those same stories would relate to, to some of the downtown operators, just the gumption to go ahead and just go and do it, including Benny Binion and coming here in 49 and opening up the Western and then the Horseshoe. A lot of people don't realize the Horseshoe here, Binion's property, which takes up a whole city block of Fremont Street today, it used to be Binion's Horseshoe. That was the first carpeted casino in downtown Las Vegas.
That's right. Yeah, they mentioned that in Blood Aces. He put the carpet in. That's right.
And because in 1938, here's a little tidbit, which is funny. And 1938, we passed a law here in downtown Las Vegas. You can no longer bring your horse into the casino. Mm-hmm. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well,
You got to leave the horse outside. That's terrible.
Yep.
Terrible. So the casinos downtown had raw wood floors and sawdust on the floor. So downtown, we were called sawdust joints. And the first strip casino, which was the El Rancho Vegas, 1941, they were carpeted. So the strip were known as carpet joints, while downtown were sawdust joints. So Benny Binion, the first carpeted casino.
Yeah, had a lot of courage back then to make those big investments.
First guy to buy gamblers' drinks. Mm-hmm. Any gambler around the world can thank Benny Binion. Realize the more drinks they buy, the more you're going to gamble. So your free cocktails, tip your waitress.
where do you see downtown heading over the next 5 to 10 years?
A lot of growth. A lot of growth. Of course, you got another 777 rooms across the street. You've got new housing complexes just on the other side of the train tracks here, 800 more units. A lot of urban development, I see. A lot of more local residents. And I think just a lot of success, I think I could see for downtown. The numbers for downtown have been consistently improving. Gaming revenue, hotel revenue, and more of that. I think finally the city of Las Vegas is starting to appreciate what downtown Las Vegas has to offer as far as its history. And they're supporting it, with things like there's something going on now called Project Enchilada. Love the name. Project Enchilada. Yep. A big area of downtown Las Vegas where the city is redoing streets and adding trees and refurbishing, along with private partnership, 7 of the older hotel signs that are between 7th Street and 14th Street. So we're actually looking at adding an add-on to our tours to go that other 7 blocks. Because, our tours end at 7th Street, which, 6 years ago, that was as far as you wanted to go. That was where Container Park had just opened up, which started to revitalize the downtown area. And that's fantastic. But the continuation goes down to 14th Street. So it's nice to see the city finally getting in and doing their part, doubling the sidewalk size, because it is so busy now in East Fremont. And that's an area that, let alone most people don't leave the Strip to come downtown. The folks that do come downtown, most don't leave the Canopy area.
Canopy, yep.
And now they can, and they don't realize.
Well, yeah, in 2005, you couldn't leave the Canopy. It wasn't safe.
That's right.
Now, 2000, and then there was 2010, 11, it got better. But thanks to a lot of the investment downtown project and all the others, ourselves included with our properties there,
yes,
have made it a walkable environment. That's right. People love now.
And lighting these neon signs that have been, derelict, delinquent, and broken down for decades, and in some cases even reacquiring some signs that were missing out of private collections. That just bodes well for the future of downtown, because more will start to live and walk about, and that'll be great for everyone.
Well, don't hold me to this, but you might be able to walk on the other side of the train tracks as part of your tour sometime next year as well, as the Greyhound bus station leaves and we look at a bridge over the train tracks. You could do the Smith Center, you could do the Luruvo Center, and then you could even go live in one of those residential buildings over there and then walk to work if you wanted.
That's right, but they will be apartments, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Apartments.
Yeah.
If they're condos, I'd be interested.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, a lot of people are moving downtown now, which is great. That's the future. More locals and again more guests from around the world discovering things like our tour, or all of the other operators like Segway and other food tours are fantastic, because we've got an amazing restaurant scene developing downtown. And the more that the guests from around the world, 50 million visitors plus came through town last year. Top destination on the planet.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You can learn more about the Las Vegas walking tours at lasvegaswalkingtours.net. Kelly, thank you so much for your time today.
Me,
and I can't wait to go back on the tour.
Love to have you again. Let me know you're coming this time.
Okay, will do.
Thank you, Kelly. Great talking.
We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please let us know how we're doing and send us your questions. Just email us at podcast@plazahotelcasino.com or go right to the top and tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jossel. Also, please follow us on social media. On Twitter and Instagram, it's @PlazaPod, and on Facebook, you can find us at Plaza Podcast. We'll see you next time from right here on the corner of Main Street.